There's a common misconception that ancient food was bland or uninspiring. Probably, sorta, kinda. It depends on whom. There are several accounts where we discover a certain ancient civilization that cooked with intelligence, intuition, and a deep understanding of ingredients, which would result in anything but boring. This isn't just a scenario of throwing meat in a pot and calling it lunch. It's a journey nearly 4,000 plus years into the past. In this episode, we dive into the culinary world of the ancient Mesopotamians, guided by the fascinating recipes etched into clay tablets. Over open flames, just like in the olden days, we're blending archaeology and outdoor cooking to rediscover the flavors of the past right here on Incredible Adventures. Hello and welcome back. I am your host, Nicole. Today we're diving deep into the ancient world again, this time to resurrect a recipe. Tuh'u. Tuh'u is one of the most interesting ancient recipes straight out of Mesopotamia, a civilization often credited with the oldest known records in the world, dating back over 5,000 years. They were serious about their receipts. What do you think? The ancient Sumerians were highly skilled, intelligent, and industrious. They were also thoughtful enough to leave records behind for the modern day seeker. What is Tuh'u? Tuh'u was the name of an ancient Mesopotamian stew, but its literal meaning remains unknown and lost in history forever. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe they'll find something, but for now, we don't know. Many have claimed that Tuh'u means beets, but Tuh'u was the name of the stew, but its literal meaning is still unknown. I believe it is a lamb stew with seasoned ingredients such as beets. I omitted beets in my recipe because beets are not readily available in this country. Also, I know the taste of beets is very overwhelming. I believe they were only used possibly as a garnish. While the core concept of a beet and meat stew remains, there are different interpretations, variations in ingredients and cooking methods. It's almost as if they left the flexibility there for the cook to improvise and incorporate their own spin as long as the foundation was laid, which is none other than beer. The tablet contains 25 stew recipes, including Tuh'u, but provides minimal instructions, primarily listing ingredients without specific quantities or details as far as the cooking methods are concerned. You'll see on the internet many videos with all kinds of folks using a massive amount of beets. Whenever I see this, I think to myself, that is not really appealing unless you enjoy the earthy dirt flavor of beets. No shade. I just thought to myself, if I were to eat this dish, would I enjoy it with all of the beets? But I've had beets plenty of times in my life, and it's not something that is another thing to consider. Beets were not typically grown year round in ancient Sumeria. Therefore, they weren't necessarily available, and most inhabitants didn't rely on beets as a key ingredient because it was a luxury. It was usually found in the upper class and also a seasonal crop. Beets were not native to Mesopotamia in the early Sumerian period. The type of red beets commonly used today only became widespread much later in Mediterranean and European cuisine. Ancient Mesopotamians instead relied on native or locally available vegetables like turnips, radishes, garlic, leeks, and onions. This may have been a dish that our beloved Puabi, whom we talked about in the last video, ate during her life. Therefore, we'll be sure to dress for the occasion. The recipe on the cuneiform tablet assumes the cook already knows the technique. Therefore, we'll execute the recipe with the intent of drawing out the natural flavor of each ingredient while also simplifying. This recipe calls for a barley-based beer. Just so you know, ancient beers weren't fizzy or hoppy. Modern wheat beer or malt beer is closer to what they used. We'll use a malt beer in today's recipe. During those times, beer was considered a gift from the gods, particularly the goddess Ninkasi. One of the oldest known beer recipes comes from a Sumerian hymn called Hymn of Ninkasi. To see the hymn, check the link in the description box below. Now that the beet and beer ingredients are established, we'll also use cuts of lamb. We'll brine it in salt and water and grill it slightly before adding the cuts to the pot. I went to the butcher. It was horrendous. They don't cut according to your preferences, but chop it just in like this uniform order of madness. The butcher tried to offer me the poorest quality of cut, but I just wouldn't have it. I was able to get the best cut that I could get. So, what cuts they are, I don't know. The recipe also calls for fat. So, fat during that time may have been sheep's fat or tallow. I chose butter, garlic, onions, as well as the breadcrumbs. I modernized it a bit by using homemade croutons. Basically, I chopped small pieces of bread and seared them slightly in a little bit of butter using a mini cast iron over the fire. You can also use barley flour or breadcrumbs. It's your choice. The breadcrumbs or the flour is used to thicken the soup. FYI, the soup thickens without bread if you keep it in the fridge overnight. The next day, I thoroughly enjoyed it. If you can, follow the recipe as you will. If you need to add beets, feel free to do so. I would recommend a garnish. That way it doesn't destroy the entire dish. To offer a little context as to how we're getting these recipes, well, modern recipes are rendering it like this, according to their interpretation. The meat is browned in fat. They add water, they add the beer to deglaze, and then they add the aromatics like the onion, garlic, and leeks. Some offer other ingredients and they simmer it until it's tender. My heart and soul wouldn't allow this. I'd like to reverse it a little bit. I want to unlock the spices by dry roasting them. The Sumerians were highly intelligent. We must remember this. So I'll add the fat. Then I'll add the meat to brown. Let it sizzle. The strangest thing occurred when I added the remaining onions. The wind kicked up massively, beautifully, as if to let me know I was doing the right thing. Let it sizzle. Add the beer and water. And pretend like I'm using leeks. We're going to add green onions, but it turns out better, by the way. We'll pretend as though it's summer. No beets were available at that time. Let it simmer, and I'll allow it to cook down for an hour and a half. We'll add some croutons to thicken it up a bit. If you need to add a little salt, you can, although I recommend brining the lamb in salt and water for about an hour and a half. You'll thank me later. And salt was available and widely used during those days. Let's get outside. Let's go get this on the fire and let's see how it all turns out. Okay. All right, guys, we are all done. It is time for the taste test. Here it is. It smells very hearty and familiar. The recipe calls for breadcrumbs, but I highly doubt such a sophisticated and intelligent civilization would want, not to say that they didn't want breadcrumbs, but I'm just saying, I have a feeling that they looked a little like this. So I decided to make these heartier pieces of bread. Let's go ahead and try it. Okay, so I love onions, by the way. It smells quite buttery and full-bodied. I can smell the beer. Let's go for it. I'm grateful to our Sumerian friends for the exploration into the deep dives of Tuh'u. Tuh'u? Tuh'u. Okay. You know what? Because we couldn't access coriander, that coriander would have accentuated this to amazing levels. Oh gosh, I could only imagine, because the flavor explosion of the coriander seed is very artistic. But the coriander leaf would have brought it to another level. I already know because I love coriander. And I was afraid that even if I did get it, it was going to overpower the dish. But it seems to me that you wouldn't really need to add too much. You just garnish a little bit. So let's try a little of the onions, the soup, and the bread crumbs. Yes. Oh my gosh. That second bite. Child. Okay. Wow. I really like this. It's very sophisticated, if you ask me. Let's try the lamb. Nice. Oh my gosh. Child, they were eating good. They were eating good. They left behind a recipe for us to expound upon the flavor profile of the ingredients used. You see how I said, okay, they use this, that, and the other. Within each ingredient, you can draw out its profile. You can bring out its characteristics and taste every idea that it was born with on your tongue. And that's what I like about this. It's very simple, full-bodied, hearty, even without starch, as you can see, but we have here this carbohydrate with the bread. It really brings it all together. I would say, okay, yes, the beer, of course it was different during that time. It was a lot porridge-like at that time, and possibly, well, they said it was intoxicating, so I can't say it didn't have an intoxicating effect, but I think that it had a more creamier effect to the soup at that time, but maybe not, because why would they need to add breadcrumbs? The breadcrumbs really give it life. You wouldn't really need to eat anything else after this because it's really hearty. You have the delicious hot soup for a very cold day, and then you have your protein, your carbs from your bread, your veggies from the leeks. We were not able to locate the leeks, but green onions were definitely grown in that region as well as the onions. And the beer, I've never had beer like this before, and it's rather nice, if I do say so myself. The lamb, though, the lamb, it's not like lamby or gamey. It's tasting really like exquisite, guys. Maybe it's the way that I did it and that it was cooked over the fire that it really brought it together and gave it such a sophisticated taste. That's what I'm getting from this. And I didn't really expect it. I thought it was just going to have a gamey effect, but it really speaks to the types of flavors which I enjoy. So I really like it. And if you guys get a chance to try it like how I did it, I do believe you will enjoy it as well. If you're not really used to trying different foods, don't like garlic and things like that, you may not like it, but I enjoy it. A little garnish of fresh coriander. Oh gosh, I can only imagine. And I'm so sad that they didn't have it. They usually get their imports in weekly, and I was late. All of the foreigners took everything. So I wasn't able to get coriander, and I'm usually able to get it. And so I was a little disappointed, but I said, you know what? We're going to go ahead and uh, activate the dried coriander seed with the dry way that I did it in the pot, and hopefully that will do. The seed has a slightly different, it has more of like a lemony taste to me, but it's still nice. And what really stands out the most about this dish, of course, is the beer. Or you can taste it. What kind of faded into the background a little bit is the cumin seed, which I actually didn't expect. I thought that the cumin seed was going to stand out more, but I'm enjoying this, especially enjoying the lamb. Gosh, the lamb is like, oh my God, it's like really delicious, guys, and it was fresh. All right, guys, I'm going to get back to this in quietness.
You will want to eat this version again, I can assure you of that. Ancient Sumerians grilled and roasted meat a lot. You know why? Because they were doing sacrifices. Cooking over the fire adds a smokiness to your dish. It raises the level, offering a greater experience, and I'd highly recommend it. I think that had I added the beets, I would not have enjoyed it as much, honestly. I'm just going to be honest. But after finishing it, I thought about future plans for making it again. Brining the lamb for 2 hours in salt water cuts the gamey flavor, and then once added to the smoke, it reaches a whole new level. And I think that this is how the ancient Sumerians were cooking, with intent, with their heart and mind and soul and intelligence. And this is why I believe that I might be borderline offspring slightly. Maybe a smidgen of DNA is in there, because when I was making it, I was just like, wouldn't they? And when I was creating Puabi's crown, even through research, the texts were relaying, let not mortal hands be seen in what we are doing at this time. I'm just paraphrasing, but that's what they meant. And everything that they did, it was rendered with intent and a level of intelligence, a higher frequency. So basically, you're exercising mastery. And there we have it, an ancient Sumerian-inspired dish brought back to life with rich lamb, earthy spices, and of course, beer, one of their most prized creations. The flavors were deep, bold, and surprisingly refined, offering a glimpse into a time when food wasn't just sustenance, but a celebration of life, community, and culture. By recreating this meal, we connect with the civilization that laid the foundation for so much of what we know today. The Sumerians were not only brilliant architects of society, but thoughtful enough to leave behind written records for future generations like us to rediscover their world, and I respect that. Thank you for embarking on this truly inspiring culinary journey with me. Until next time, we'll see you again here on Incredible Adventures TV. Bye guys. Don't forget to give the video a like, share with your friends. See you in the next video.